The bridge of the USS Devastator hummed with tension. Admiral John Carter stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face reflected in the massive view screen before him. Stars stretched into infinity, cold and distant. At 53, Carter had seen more battles than most, but today marked something different. Today, humanity would reveal its ultimate weapon. "Status report," Carter said, his voice steady despite the weight of what was to come. Commander Samantha Wells looked up from her console. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and concern flickered across her face. "All systems operating at optimal levels, Admiral. The terraforming inversion system is ready for deployment at your command." Carter nodded. 6 years of development, countless resources, and the brightest minds on Earth had created this moment. After the Centauri attacks that decimated 3 human colonies and left millions dead, Earth's unified government had authorized the creation of a weapon so powerful it would ensure such an attack never happened again. Communications from Earth. "Central, sir," said Lieutenant Frank Miller, his fingers dancing across his console. "Admiral Collins requests confirmation that we're proceeding with the test." Carter took a deep breath. "Send confirmation. We proceed as planned." Wells moved closer to Carter, lowering her voice. "John, are we certain about this? The simulations were troubling." "The simulations showed exactly what we needed to see," Carter replied, not meeting her eyes. "A weapon that will make any species think twice before attacking humanity again." "But the scale of destruction is necessary," Carter cut her off. "I was there when the Centauri burned New Seattle. I watched families vaporized mid-stride. This isn't about revenge, Sam, it's about survival." The ship's AI area interrupted their conversation. "Admiral, we have reached the test coordinates. The uninhabited planetoid XJ-27 is within range of the TIS." Carter nodded and addressed the bridge crew. "This is a historic moment. When the Centauri attacked us 3 years ago, they believed humans were easy prey. When the Gralthex Alliance refused our peace offerings last year, they called us barely evolved primates. After today, no species will underestimate humanity again." He turned to Chief Engineer Alan Gregory, a stocky man with prematurely gray hair. "Begin the TIS activation sequence." Gregory's fingers worked across his station, initiating power transfer to the TIS core. Quantum entanglement field stabilizing. System reaching critical threshold in 30 seconds. On the view screen, the barren planetoid hung in space, a lifeless rock about 1/3 the size of Earth's moon. It had been chosen specifically for this test, far from any inhabited worlds, yet large enough to demonstrate the weapon's capabilities. Science Officer Olivia Parker frowned at her readings. "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual fluctuations in the quantum field. The entanglement is spreading beyond our calculated parameters. Is it a system malfunction?" Carter asked. Parker shook her head, her short blonde hair catching the blue light of her console. "No, sir. The system is functioning exactly as designed. Our calculations were simply conservative." "Meaning?" Wells asked. "Meaning the effect will be more powerful than we anticipated," Parker replied, her voice hushed. Gregory called out, "T is reaching peak energy output. Entanglement field locked on target, ready to trigger the inversion on your command, Admiral." Carter hesitated, for just a moment, aware that every person on the bridge was watching him. This weapon represented humanity's defiance, a statement that they would never again be victims. Yet the power they were about to unleash carried a terrible responsibility. "Proceed," he said finally. Gregory pressed the activation control. Terraforming. Inversion system engaged. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The planetoid continued its slow rotation, unchanged. Then, gradually, a shimmering distortion appeared around it, like heat waves rising from desert sand. Quantum field expanding at predicted rate, Parker reported. Molecular destabilization beginning at the surface level. On the view screen, the planetoid's surface began to change. What had been solid rock now appeared to liquefy, then vaporize. The process accelerated exponentially, spreading from the impact point outward. "My God," Wells whispered. Within minutes, the planetoid was surrounded by a cloud of its former self. The cloud continued to expand, the particles moving faster, breaking down further. "The TIS isn't just destroying the target," Parker said, her voice filled with scientific awe and human horror. "It's unraveling the atomic bonds and converting matter into energy. The reaction is self-sustaining." Carter watched in silence as the planetoid, something that had existed for billions of years, disappeared before their eyes. Where there had been a solid celestial body, there was now only an expanding cloud of elementary particles that would eventually dissipate into the void of space. "Test complete," Gregory announced unnecessarily. "Target eliminated." The bridge remained silent, each person processing what they had witnessed. They had not simply destroyed a planetoid, they had erased it from existence. "Log the test as successful," Carter finally said. "Prepare a complete data package for Earth Central." As the crew returned to their duties, Wells approached Carter again. "John, this weapon, it's beyond what any of us imagined. If used against an inhabited world, it won't be," Carter said firmly. "Not unless we have no other choice. This is a deterrent, Sam. Now we have leverage in a galaxy where humanity has had none." The ship's communication system suddenly came alive. "Admiral Carter," Area announced. "Incoming priority transmission from Earth Central." The view screen shifted to show the stern face of Fleet Admiral Patricia Rivera. "Carter, we've received your preliminary data. The Security Council is impressed. But there's been a development. The Galactic Alliance has launched an attack on our colony at New Haven. 53 warships dropped out of hyperspace 30 minutes ago and have begun orbital bombardment." Carter's blood ran cold. "Casualties?" "Unknown. We lost contact after the initial distress call. No other Earth ships can reach New Haven in time." Rivera's expression hardened. "The Devastator is hereby ordered to proceed to New Haven at maximum speed. You are authorized to use the TIS if necessary to save the colony." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. "They must have learned about the weapon," Wells said quietly. "This is a preemptive strike." Carter turned to his navigation officer. "Plot a course to New Haven. Maximum speed." He looked around at his crew, seeing the mixture of determination and fear on their faces. "What we just tested was meant to prevent war. Now we may have to use it in battle much sooner than any of us expected." As the Devastator's engines powered up, Carter returned to the view screen, watching the dissipating particles that had once been a planetoid. Humanity had created a weapon that could turn worlds into wastelands. He prayed they hadn't doomed themselves in the process. The Devastator tore through hyperspace, its engines pushing beyond safety limits. Admiral Carter hadn't left the bridge in 26 hours. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, fixed on the countdown timer showing their arrival at New Haven. 8 minutes until we exit hyperspace," announced Navigator Paul Wilson. Commander Wells handed Carter a cup of coffee. "The colony has been under attack for almost 2 days now. We need to prepare for the worst." Carter nodded grimly. "Any communications from New Haven?" Communications Officer Lisa Brown shook her head. "Nothing since the initial distress call. Sir, the Gralthax likely destroyed their long-range transmitters first." "How many people on New Haven?" Carter asked, though he already knew the answer. 4,300,000 colonists, Wells replied quietly. "It was our fastest-growing outer colony." Carter turned to Tactical Officer Peter Young. "Battle stations, all weapon systems ready the moment we exit hyperspace, and prepare the TIS for potential deployment." Young's fingers moved across his console. "Aye, sir. Conventional weapons online. TIS standing by." The bridge fell silent as the ship hurtled toward its destination. Every person there understood what might be required of them. They had seen the test results. They knew what the TIS could do. "Admiral," Science Officer Parker said suddenly, "I've been analyzing the test data. There's something you should know about the TIS." "Now isn't the time, Olivia," Carter said. Sir, it's important. The quantum entanglement effect has a much wider range than we predicted. If we deploy it near New Haven, the colony itself might be affected. Carter's jaw tightened. Can we control the radius? To some degree, but not with absolute precision. And there's something else. Parker hesitated. The entanglement creates a quantum link between the target and its home system. When we deployed it against the planetoid, I detected a minor disturbance in its parent star. Meaning, what exactly? Wells asked. Meaning if we use it against the Gralthek's fleet, the effect could potentially travel through space-time back to their homeworld. The entanglement doesn't care about distance. Carter stared at her. Are you saying we could affect their planet from here? Theoretically, yes. The effect would be weaker, but present. Dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, Wilson called. Out. Carter gripped the railing in front of him. Everyone, focus. Whatever we find, whatever we must do, remember why we're here. To protect our people. The swirling tunnel of hyperspace collapsed around them, and the Devastator burst back into normal space. The scene that greeted them was chaos and fire. New Haven, once a beautiful blue-green world, now had angry red wounds across its surface where Gralthek's bombardment had struck. Orbital stations burned, debris floating in clouds around the planet. In orbit, the Gralthek's fleet, massive insectoid ships with sharp, aggressive lines, continued their methodical destruction. 53 enemy vessels confirmed, Young reported. They're focusing fire on the main settlement areas. Any sign they've detected us? Carter asked. Not yet. We emerged behind New Haven's larger moon. We have temporary sensor coverage. Carter turned to Wells. Options? She studied the tactical display. Conventional weapons could take out maybe 6 or 7 of their ships before they overwhelm us. The Devastator is powerful, but we're still outnumbered. And the TIS? Wells met his eyes. Would likely destroy their entire fleet. But with the quantum entanglement effect Olivia described, we don't know what else it might do. Carter nodded. Scan the planet. I need to know if there are still people alive down there. Parker worked her console. Detecting multiple life signs concentrated in the northern continent's underground shelters. Approximately 2 million survivors, sir. 2 million alive. Over 2 million already dead. Carter felt the weight of all those lives pressing down on him. Sir, Brown called out. I'm picking up a weak transmission from the planet's surface, audio only. Let's hear it, Carter ordered. A woman's voice, strained and breaking with static, filled the bridge. This is Governor Diane Frost of New Haven. If anyone can hear this, please help us. The shelters won't hold much longer. They're targeting population centers systematically. They're not just destroying our colony, they're hunting us. Carter closed his eyes briefly. Open a channel to the Gralthek's fleet. Channel open, Brown confirmed. This is Admiral John Carter of the Earth vessel Devastator. Cease your attack on New Haven immediately and withdraw from this system. For a moment, there was silence. Then a harsh, clicking voice responded. Admiral Carter, your arrival is unexpected but irrelevant. One ship cannot stop us, even your new weapon. The alien's voice seemed to savor the last word. So you know about the Devastator, Carter said. We know humans have built a planet killer. Did you think such information would remain secret? That is why we strike now, before you can use it against our worlds. We will destroy all human colonies one by one, until you surrender this abomination. Carter's face hardened. You've seen our test data. You know what this ship can do. This is your final warning. Withdraw now. The alien commander made a sound like grinding stones, laughter perhaps. You would not use such a weapon near your own colony. Even humans are not so reckless. The communication cut off. On the tactical display, the Gralthek ships adjusted their formation, some breaking off to head toward the Devastator's position. They're targeting us, Young reported. 15 ships approaching, weapons charged. Carter looked around the bridge, at his crew. He saw the question in their eyes. They had created this weapon as a deterrent, never truly believing they would use it. Now the moment had come. Plot a course to take us within optimum range of their fleet, Carter ordered. but keep maximum distance from the planet. Sir? Wells said quietly. Are we really doing this? Carter met her gaze. They gave us no choice, Sam. If we do nothing, New Haven falls. Then they'll move on to the next colony and the next. They've made their intentions clear. He turned to Gregory. Begin TIS activation sequence. Target the main Gralthex fleet concentration. As the Devastator moved out from behind the moon, the bridge crew worked with grim efficiency. The massive ship, humanity's ultimate weapon, headed toward its first real battle. TIS charging, Gregory reported. Quantum fields stabilizing. 2 minutes to full power. On the view screen, the first Gralthex energy blasts streaked toward them, brilliant green against the blackness of space. The Devastator shuddered as they struck its shields. Shields at 80%, Young called out, returning fire with conventional weapons. The Devastator's pulse cannons flashed, destroying 2 of the approaching Gralthex ships. But more were coming. TIS ready in 30 seconds, Gregory announced. The tension on the bridge was palpable. Carter took a deep breath. May whatever gods exist forgive us, he whispered. Then louder, activate the TIS. The terraforming inversion system activated with surprising subtlety. No massive energy beam shot from the Devastator. No blinding flash marked the moment humanity crossed a line from which there was no return. Instead, a barely visible ripple spread outward from the ship, distorting the space around it like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "'Tis engaged," Chief Engineer Gregory announced. His voice was steady, but his knuckles were white as he gripped his console. Commander Wells watched the view screen intently. "How long until we see effects?" "The quantum disruption begins at the subatomic level," Science Officer Parker explained. "It will cascade upward through molecular bonds. We should observe macro-level effects in approximately 30 seconds. The bridge crew held their breath as the ripple reached the first Gralthex ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessels began to drift, their engines flickering and dying. "Their power systems are failing," Young reported from Tactical. "The quantum disruption is affecting their energy production first." On the view screen, more Gralthex ships began to drift. Their formations broke apart as captains tried desperately to restore power. Some of the smaller vessels were already beginning to show visible distortions, their hulls seeming to waver like mirages. The alien commander's voice crackled over the communication system, no longer confident, but filled with confusion and growing horror. What are you doing? Our ships and our weapons?" The transmission broke into static. "It's working even better than the test," Gregory said, his voice hushed with awe and dread. "The organic components in their ships are accelerating. The reaction." Parker's face suddenly paled as she stared at her readouts. "Admiral, I'm detecting a quantum resonance building along the entanglement pathways. The effect is..." She looked up, her expression stricken. "It's reaching their homeworld." Carter moved to her station. "Show me." Parker's fingers flew across her console, pulling up a display of the Gralthex home system, 30 light-years away. Long-range sensors showed a planet, Voros, the primary Gralthex world. A data stream beside it showed rapidly changing atmospheric readings. "This can't be happening in real time," Carter said. "Not across that distance. It's not bound by normal physics," Parker replied. "The quantum entanglement creates a link that ignores space-time constraints. What we're seeing is actually happening now." On the display, Voros's atmosphere was changing color, from a healthy blue-green to an angry red. Storm systems were forming spontaneously across the planet, growing to massive proportions within minutes. Wells stared at the screen in horror. "My God, John. We're not just disabling their fleet. We're affecting their planet." Carter's jaw tightened. "Can we stop it?" "I don't know," Parker admitted. "The reaction is self-sustaining now. It's spread beyond our control parameters." Before Carter could respond, Brown called out from communications. "Admiral, I'm receiving thousands of distress signals from the Gralthex fleet. Their life support systems are failing." On the view screen, the enemy ships were clearly deteriorating. Some had begun to break apart, their hulls dissolving into clouds of particles. The larger vessels were still intact but drifting helplessly, their once bright energy signatures fading. "Open a channel to their command ship," Carter ordered. When the connection established, he spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Admiral Carter. As you can see, your fleet is being neutralized. But this is only the beginning of what our weapon can do. Your homeworld of Voros is already experiencing atmospheric disruption. This effect will continue unless you immediately order all Gralthek's forces to withdraw from human space." The alien commander's image flickered on screen. Behind him, sparks flew from failing systems. His insectoid features were hard for humans to read, but his multiple limbs moved in what seemed to be agitation. You cannot be doing this," the commander said. "Not across such distances. It violates all known laws of physics." "Yet it is happening," Carter replied. "Look at your long-range sensor data. See what's happening to Voros. Now imagine that continuing until your world is uninhabitable." The alien was silent for a long moment. Then, We will withdraw. All ships that can still move. Please, stop this weapon." Carter turned to Parker. "Can we deactivate the TIS?" She worked frantically at her console. "I'm trying to disrupt the quantum field, but it's maintaining itself now. The entanglement has reached critical mass." "Keep trying," Carter ordered. Then to the alien commander, "We're attempting to halt the process. Order your complete withdrawal immediately." The view screen showed the surviving Gralthek ships struggling to move away from New Haven. Some managed to limp into hyperspace. Others drifted helplessly, their crews likely already dead as the quantum disruption ate through their hulls. "Sir," Brown called out, "I've established contact with Governor Frost on the surface." The governor's face appeared on a secondary screen, dirty and streaked with tears, but very much alive. "Admiral Carter, thank you. The Gralthek's bombardment has stopped, but what did you do?" "We saw their ships just coming apart." Carter couldn't meet her eyes. "We used a new weapon, Governor, one that should ensure the Graltheks never threaten human colonies again." While Carter spoke with the governor, Wells moved to Parker's station. "Any progress shutting it down?" Parker shook her head. "The effect is continuing to build on Voros. Their atmosphere is becoming toxic. Surface temperatures are rising dramatically." She looked up, her eyes haunted. "There are 15 billion sentient beings on that planet, Commander." Wells closed her eyes briefly. "Can we at least contain it to Voros? Stop it from spreading to other planets in their system?" "I think so. The strongest entanglement is with their fleet, which established the primary link to their homeworld. If we can break that connection..." Parker trailed off, her fingers moving across her console with renewed purpose. Carter finished speaking with the governor and returned to the main bridge. "Status of the TIS effect?" "Still building on Voros," Wells reported. "Olivia thinks she might be able to contain it to their homeworld, but she can't stop what's already happening there." Carter moved to the view screen, which now showed a split display. New Haven on one side, with rescue ships already departing from the Devastator to aid the colonists. On the other side, the increasingly chaotic surface of Voros, where billions of Graltheks faced an apocalypse they couldn't understand or escape. "We've saved New Haven," Carter said quietly. "But at what cost?" "Sir," Parker called out suddenly, "I've isolated the quantum signature. I can't stop the effect on Voros, but I can prevent it from spreading to other planets." "Do it," Carter ordered. As Parker worked, Wells approached Carter. "What do we tell Earth Central? We've gone beyond defensive action. This is..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "This is war," Carter said grimly. "A new kind of war that no one was prepared for. Not even us." He stared at the image of Voros, where storms now covered half the planet. "And I fear this is only the beginning." 3 months after the New Haven incident, the USS Devastator orbited Earth. The once proud crew moved through their duties with subdued efficiency. No one spoke of the 15 billion Graltheks who had perished when Voros became uninhabitable. No one mentioned the refugees who had escaped their dying world only to face hostile reception throughout the galaxy. Some things were easier left unsaid. Admiral Carter stood in his quarters, staring at the blue-green planet below. Earth looked so peaceful from orbit, so unaware of what its defenders had unleashed. His door chimed. "Enter," he said. Commander Wells stepped inside. Her uniform was crisp, but dark circles shadowed her eyes. "The Security Council is ready for us, sir." Carter nodded. "Time to face the music." They walked in silence to the shuttle bay. As they boarded the craft that would take them to Earth, Wells finally spoke. "They're calling us heroes down there. There are statues being built." "And what do you think we are, Sam?" Carter asked. She looked away. "I think we did what we thought necessary. I think we couldn't have known what would happen. And I think that doesn't change the fact that billions died because of our actions." The shuttle launched, carrying them down to a world that now looked at the stars with both pride and fear. The United Earth Security Council chamber was a semicircle of polished wood and gleaming metal. 50 representatives from Earth's nations sat in tiered seats, looking down at Carter and Wells standing at the center. Behind a raised desk sat Security Council Chair Edward Pierce, his silver hair and solemn expression lending him the air of a judge. "Admiral Carter, Commander Wells," Pierce began, "you stand before this council as both the saviors of New Haven and the architects of the Voros devastation. Your actions have changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever." Carter stood at attention. "We followed our orders to protect human colonies, sir." Pierce nodded. "Indeed, and you succeeded." He tapped a screen before him. "In the 3 months since the Devastator deployed the TIS, 5 previously hostile species have signed non-aggression pacts with Earth. Fear, it seems, is an effective diplomatic tool." Wells shifted uncomfortably but remained silent. "However," Pierce continued, "we now face a new reality. The surviving Graltheks have formed a coalition with 12 other species. They call themselves the Preservation Alliance, and their sole stated purpose is the destruction of the Devastator." "We expected as much," Carter said. "What we didn't expect," Pierce replied, "was their effectiveness in turning galactic opinion against us. Many neutral species now view humanity as a threat to all life." He paused. "Some are calling what happened at Voros a war crime." Carter felt his jaw tighten. "The Graltheks attacked our colony first. They killed over 2 million civilians. And we killed 15 billion in response," Wells said quietly. Pierce studied them both. "The Council has been debating our next move. While the TIS has given us unprecedented security, it has also made us isolated. Some argue we should dismantle the weapon to show good faith. Others believe we should build more." "More?" Wells couldn't hide her shock. "Sir, with respect, we still don't fully understand how to control the one we have. Which is why we've made our decision," Pierce said. "The Devastator will remain our sole planet killer, but it will receive new orders." He looked directly at Carter. "Intelligence reports indicate that 3 Gralthex colony worlds are developing weapons capable of destroying Earth entirely. Your ship will depart immediately to neutralize this threat." Carter felt cold. "By neutralize, do you mean?" "By any means necessary, Admiral." Pierce cut him off. "If diplomatic pressure fails, you are authorized to use the TIS again." The council chamber erupted in shouted questions and arguments. Some representatives stood in protest while others nodded grimly in agreement. Pierce raised his hands for silence. "This decision was not made lightly, but let me be clear. Earth will not sit idle while our enemies build weapons to destroy us. The Devastator will serve as both our shield and our sword." Later, as Carter and Wells walked along the shores of Lake Geneva, Earth's sky seemed impossibly blue after months in space. "We have new crew assignments," Wells said, breaking their long silence. 30% of the crew requested transfers. Some couldn't sleep after Voros. Carter nodded. "I'm not sleeping much myself." Peter Young requested to stay on as tactical officer. Wells continued. "He said someone needs to be there who believes in the mission." "And do you still believe, Sam?" Carter stopped walking to look at her. Wells stared out at the peaceful lake. I believe in protecting humanity. But after seeing what the TIS did to Voros, she shook her head. There has to be a better way. Maybe there is. Carter pulled out a small data pad and handed it to Wells. Olivia Parker sent me this before she resigned. She's been studying the quantum mechanics of the TIS. She thinks it could be modified. Wells scanned the document, her eyes widening. This says the same technology could potentially be reversed. Instead of destroying planets, it could restore them. Carter finished. Terraform dead worlds. Make them habitable again. Does the Security Council know about this? Carter shook his head. They don't want a tool for creation. They want a weapon. But I'm thinking about humanity's future beyond this conflict. What kind of species do we want to be remembered as? The ones who destroyed worlds or the ones who built them? 2 days later, the Devastator prepared to depart Earth orbit. On the bridge, many faces were new. Some crew members avoided looking directly at Carter, uncertain what to make of their commander. Others, like Young, displayed a fierce pride in their mission. Carter took his position in the command chair. Status report. All systems functional, Admiral, reported the new chief engineer, Natalie Rivera. TIS is secure and inactive. New orders received from Earth Central, said Communications Officer Henry Ford. We are to proceed to the Proxima Centauri system to investigate reports of Gralthek's weapons development. Carter nodded. Navigator, set course for Proxima Centauri. Standard speed. As the ship prepared to enter hyperspace, Wells approached Carter's chair and lowered her voice. I've reviewed Olivia's research with Engineer Rivera. The modifications to reverse the TIS effect would take weeks, but they're possible. Good, Carter said quietly, because I'm not planning to destroy any more worlds if we can avoid it. He looked around at his crew. Whatever happens at Proxima Centauri, we need to find another way. The Devastator vanished into hyperspace, carrying humanity's most terrible weapon toward a confrontation that would determine not just the fate of worlds, but the soul of the human species. The USS Devastator emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. The binary star cast an eerie red glow across the bridge. Admiral Carter leaned forward in his command chair, studying the tactical display. Long-range sensors, detecting multiple ships, reported Tactical Officer Young. His voice held a note of awe. 300 vessels, sir. Largest fleet I've ever seen. Species identification? Carter asked. Mixed fleet. Gralthek, Centauri, Vordax, and at least 9 other species. They're in defensive formation around the 4th planet. Wells moved to Carter's side. That's where intelligence said they're building. The planet killers. Carter nodded grimly. And they've gathered quite a welcoming committee. He turned to Engineer Rivera. Status of the modified TIS. Modifications are at 97% completion, Rivera replied. But Admiral, we haven't tested the reverse function. We don't know if it will work as Parker theorized. It has to, Carter said quietly. Then louder. Communications. Open a channel to the Allied fleet. Ford worked his console. Channel open, sir. Carter stood, facing the view screen. This is Admiral John Carter of the Earth vessel Devastator. We know you're developing weapons capable of destroying our homeworld. We demand immediate access to your facilities for verification and dismantlement. The screen flickered, then displayed an alien face. Multiple eyes blinked independently on a gray, chitinous head. Supreme Commander Vex of the Graltheks spoke, his translator rendering his clicks and hisses into human speech. Admiral Carter, the Butcher of Voros. You come alone to face our combined fleet? Your arrogance is matched only by your cruelty. Carter kept his expression neutral. We didn't come seeking conflict, Commander. Earth wants peace. Peace? Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a Gralthek's laugh. You unleashed a weapon that turned our homeworld into a barren wasteland. 15 billion of my people died choking on their own atmosphere. And you speak of peace? What happened at Voros was a tragedy, Carter acknowledged. One we didn't fully anticipate. But you attacked our colony first. And you responded by committing genocide, Vex said flatly. Now you come here, threatening us again. Your ship cannot stand against our combined fleet, Carter. Even your planet killer has limits. Wells stepped forward. We don't want to use the TIS again. That's why we're here. To find another way. Vex's multiple eyes focused on her. There is no other way now. You humans made your choice when you built that abomination. The only path forward is the destruction of your weapon, and your species if necessary. The transmission cut off. On the tactical display, the alien fleet began to move, spreading out to surround the Devastator. They're taking attack positions, Young reported. Weapons charging across the fleet. Carter returned to his chair. Raise shields, charge conventional weapons, but hold fire unless I give the order. Sir? Wells said urgently. We can't fight them all, and if we use the TIS again, we'll only prove them right about humanity. I know, Carter replied. Rivera, how close are we to completing the TIS modifications? 10 minutes, Admiral, but again we have no way of knowing if it will work. The ship shuddered as the first volley of alien weapons fire struck their shields. Shields at 80%, Young called out. We're being targeted by multiple ships. Carter made his decision. Return fire with conventional weapons. Target their lead vessels. And continue work on the TIS modifications. The Devastator's pulse cannons roared to life, destroying 3 smaller alien ships. But for every one they struck, 10 more fired upon them. Shields failing, Young reported as another volley hit. 40% and dropping. Hull breaches on. Decks 4 through 7. Sir, the Allied commander is hailing us again, Ford announced. On screen, Carter ordered. Vex appeared again, his alien features unreadable to human eyes. Surrender your vessel, Carter. Power down your weapon, and your crew will be spared. And Earth? Carter asked. We'll face judgment for creating a planet killer. But we are not genocidal like humans. Your species will survive, just without the capacity to threaten the galaxy again. Before Carter could respond, Rivera called out from engineering. "'Tis modifications complete, Admiral. System ready for activation." Carter looked at Wells. "This is our only chance, Sam. If Parker's theory is wrong..." Wells nodded. "It's still better than using it as a weapon again. Let's show them what humanity can really do." Carter turned back, to the screen. "Commander Vex, we're about to activate our ship's main system, but not as a weapon." Vex's mandibles clicked nervously. Another trick? Another world to destroy? "Watch and judge for yourself," Carter said. Then to Rivera. "Activate the modified TIS. Target Proxima Centauri 4. "Sir?" Young looked confused. "That's a dead moon. The Gralthex mining operation stripped it bare centuries ago." "Exactly," Carter said. "The perfect test subject." The bridge crew held their breath as Rivera initiated the sequence. Once again, the barely visible ripple of quantum distortion spread from the Devastator. The alien fleet's weapons fell silent. As they watched, likely preparing for the worst, the ripple reached the barren moon and surrounded it. For long moments, nothing seemed to happen. "It's not working," Young said. "Wait," Wells pointed to her readings. "Something's happening at the molecular level." On the view screen, the surface of the dead moon began to change. Where there had been only gray, lifeless rock, patches of color began to appear. Sensors showed moisture forming in the thin atmosphere, gradually thickening it. "It's working," Rivera said in awe. "The reverse process is regenerating the molecular bonds, creating matter instead of destroying it." Within minutes, the transformation accelerated. Clouds formed in the newborn atmosphere. The dark surface lightened as minerals reorganized into fertile soil. Readings showed the first microscopic life beginning to form from base elements. "We're not just terraforming it," Wells said, her voice filled with wonder. "We're bringing it back to life." The alien fleet remained motionless, weapons powered down as they watched the miracle unfolding before them. "Admiral," Ford called out, "Commander Vex is hailing us again." When the Gralthex leader appeared on screen, his posture had changed. His limbs were still, his multiple eyes fixed on Carter. "What have you done?" he asked. "What we should have." "Done from the beginning," Carter replied. "Our scientists discovered that the quantum entanglement effect works both ways. It can break down matter, or restore it. We've modified our ship to create rather than destroy." "And you think this changes anything?" Vex asked, but his tone lacked conviction. "You still killed billions of my people." "Nothing can bring them back," Carter acknowledged. "But this technology could transform barren worlds into new homes for the Gralthex refugees. It won't undo what happened, but it can help build a future." Bridge fell silent as Vex considered. Finally, he spoke. "Hold your position, Devastator. I will confer with the Allied leaders." Hours later, representatives from each species in the Allied fleet met aboard a neutral vessel. Carter and Wells stood before them, explaining the modified TIS technology and offering to share it under strict control of a multi-species council. "The choice is yours," Carter concluded. "We can continue this war until one or both of our civilizations lies in ruins, or we can build something new together." 6 months later, the Devastator led a fleet of ships, both human and alien, to what remained of Voros. The once beautiful world was now a toxic wasteland, its surface scoured by storms and radiation. Carter stood on the bridge beside Wells, watching as the combined fleet took position around the dead planet. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Ford announced. Carter nodded. "Begin the restoration sequence." Across the fleet, modified TIS systems activated simultaneously, their combined power focused on Voros. The quantum effect spread across the planet, beginning the long process of healing. "It will take years," Wells said quietly. "But the simulations show it will work eventually." Carter watched as the first changes became visible on the planet's surface. "This is the true power of humanity," he said. "Not that we can destroy worlds, but that we can choose to build them instead." As the former enemies worked together to restore what had been lost, Carter thought about the long journey that had brought them here. They had stood at the edge of an abyss, looking into the darkness of their own capacity for destruction. And then somehow they had found another path. "So ends the story of the Wasteland creator," Wells said, watching Voros slowly come back to life. "And begins the story of something better." Carter smiled. For the first time since New Haven, he felt the weight lifting from his shoulders. "Something much better," he agreed. "A future worth building."